Hi everyone. Today we're going to make an easy homemade granola recipe. You might be thinking, why not just buy the granola at the grocery store? You definitely can. However, the granola at the grocery store is very expensive, especially if you have a large family. You're going to go through it super quick and it gets really pricey, and they're very high in sugar. So today we're going to make this homemade granola using honey and maple syrup instead of the traditional sugar that might be in the store-bought granola. First, I'm starting with 4 cups of sprouted oats. I have this organic sprouted oats I buy in bulk. I believe I got this one from Thrive Market, possibly Azure Standard. The reason why I like the sprouted oats is the sprouting process makes the mineral content and the vitamin content, it enhances it, and also the sprouting makes it easier to digest. So it's just all around better for you, and yeah, so that's why we're using it here. I'm also adding a half of a cup of dry milk powder. You can leave this out. It does add more protein, and it's milk. If you're using it as a breakfast item or topping yogurt or ice cream with it, there's no problem with putting that in. And I'm adding a half of a teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna go ahead and toss this, mix it up a little bit. I have my oven preheated to 325 degrees. So in a separate bowl, I'm going to add a half of a cup of honey. I'm using a dark honey here. You can use any type of honey. And I have a half of a cup of coconut oil, which I am going to throw into a pan quickly and melt that. And if it's warm in the house, your coconut oil might already be liquefied. Mine is soft, but not completely liquid. I just find it easier to incorporate with the honey and the maple syrup, especially if your maple syrup is in the fridge. Unless it's a new bottle, it's going to come from the fridge, it's going to be cold, and it will start to solidify, or possibly start to solidify the coconut oil a little bit, and you really don't want that. You want to be able to incorporate it all evenly into this mixture. And while the coconut oil is melting, I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I'm using a homemade vanilla extract that I made about 4 or 5 months ago. If you're looking for a good vanilla extract recipe, go over to pawsandpetalshomestead.com, and Emily has a great vanilla extract recipe posted. You do have to wait a couple of months once you make it. It's not something you can make and use immediately. So now might be a good time to get ahead of the game and make the vanilla extract so that by the time Thanksgiving and Christmas comes around, you'll be all prepared for the holidays. Head over to pawsandpetalshomestead.com and check out that vanilla extract recipe. And to the vanilla extract, I also added 1 teaspoon of almond extract. I'm gonna put that in with the honey, and I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of maple syrup. You can use all honey for this. I like the flavor that the maple syrup gives. I believe you can use all maple syrup also. So it really only takes about 30 seconds. Coconut oil is all melted. I'm going to add that to the honey and the extracts and the maple syrup. Mix that together. And we're going to pour this right into the oats. And we'll mix this to combine. It already smells so good. Once it hits the oven, it makes the house smell amazing. You can make this in a larger batch if you want to have granola for a long time. I prefer making it, sometimes I double it, but I prefer making it in just this single batch so it stays fresh. I do put it in an airtight container to store it. But sometimes the kids go on kicks and they have a lot of granola every day, and then they won't eat it for a couple of weeks. So I like making it fresh. It is really easy to make. We're just going to dump it out onto this prepared baking sheet. Since I did a single batch, I'm probably only going to need one pan. You want to spread it out into a thin layer so that it all gets golden. We are going to add a lot of mix-ins to this, but we're not going to add them until the end, or at least towards the end of the cooking time. A lot of the mix-ins that I use are nuts, and you don't want to add the nuts now because they will burn. It won't taste good, and nuts are expensive. You don't want to ruin them. So this is going to go into a 325-degree oven, and I'm going to put it in for 20 minutes before I stir it. It just depends on your oven. You're going to have to just take a peek at it. You want it golden, but you don't want it too dark. You do want it to dry out. So after 20 minutes, I'm going to see what it looks like, maybe give it a stir, maybe pull it out. Something that I wanted to talk about and show you is while we were making the granola, I had some honey from, I bought this one from Azure Standard. It was a big jar. And sometimes, I'm not sure what makes it happen, but I go through a lot of honey and I feel like I go through it quickly. But sometimes those last couple inches, they crystallize and it makes it really hard to get out of the jar, hard to use. So what I do is, see, it was all stuck a couple of minutes ago. What I do is I put the honey into a pan on really low heat, medium low to low heat, and watch it carefully because you can burn the honey. But you just want to melt that honey back into a liquid form. I'm going to pour it into, because I'm not going to use it right now. I could have used it for this recipe, but I wanted to save it and show this to you. I'm going to pour it into a small glass container so that tomorrow or the day after, when I need, it looks like maybe a quarter of a cup to a half a cup of honey, I'll be able to get it out easily. It won't be all stuck in the bottom of the jar and crystallized. And it just keeps from, honey's expensive, so it keeps from wasting it. So that's just a neat little trick I wanted to share. Just to show you how easy it comes out. And this is just going to be so much easier to use from this wide mouth container. And you really don't want to add crystallized honey to a recipe, so now it's back into a more liquid form. So I just checked on my granola and I did not have the camera running, so I went ahead and put the nut mixture in without filming it. So I'm just going to tell you what I did. I put 1 cup of nuts. You can put any kind of nuts, walnuts, pecans, macadamia nuts. Today I used sesame seeds, sprouted pumpkin seeds, some unsalted, unroasted sunflower seeds, and I mixed them into the granola. You could tell that the granola is perfectly golden. At this point, it technically could be ready, but I do want to toast the nuts for a minute or two, 2 minutes definitely, just to bring out the flavor. Any time that you roast nuts, it enhances the flavor and it will help them stick to the granola also. So I'm going to pop this back into the oven for 2 minutes. Okay, so after adding the nuts and seed mixture, I put it back into the oven for 2 minutes. And you can just tell that the granola is nice and golden. It's gonna dry out really easily. And at this point, you can add so many different things. You can add dried apricots. You can add raisins, dried currants, dried cranberries. Today, I'm going to add 1 cup of dried cranberries. And I have toasted coconut. So you can add shredded coconut at the beginning of the recipe along with your oats. However, you want to be careful. You don't want to add sweetened coconut. First, you'll be adding more unnecessary sugar, and the sugar on the sweetened coconut will probably burn. So I just like to keep this step till the end. I buy it already toasted, and I'm going to add about 1 cup of that. They're really good. I get these from Thrive Market. And stir these in. And now we just have to wait. We're gonna patiently wait and let the granola completely cool. It seems you might think it's a little bit soft at this point, but as it cools, it will get crunchy. It will stick together. You can already see it is sticking together in clumps, but it will stick together more as it cools. So we're just gonna put it aside, put the whole pan right onto a cooling rack and give it maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to cool. So our granola is all cooled off. You can see that it clumped up together nicely. It's in chunks, just like the stuff that you buy at the store. One thing I didn't talk about is adding things like chocolate chips. If you wanted to get really creative, I mean, you'd be adding more sugar, but adding mini marshmallows, the texture will change quickly on those. So that would be, I would add those when the kids eat it or when you're going to eat the granola. And when I do add chocolate chips, so I don't get the extra sugar, I use Lily's chocolate chips, which are stevia sweetened. But you can use any chocolate chips. In fact, the cranberries go really well with white chocolate chips. So now we're just going to store the granola in an airtight container. You can use a Ziploc freezer bag. I would recommend that once you get the granola into the bag, try to get all the air out of the bag so that there's no air left in it. It will stay fresher and crispier longer. I don't have a time that I can tell you like this will last for. It should last for a couple of weeks. We go through it quickly, and we've never had it for more than 2 weeks at a time. So I hope you try this recipe. Head on over to my blog, simplyeatathome.com. If you tried the recipe, I'd really appreciate if you'd put a review. There's a printable recipe card. Click on the stars on the recipe card underneath the picture and leave a review. I would really appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Again, that's simplyeatathome.com. Have a great day.